Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back, and today we're going to be playing a sweet new card from the new set, which is Rally the Ranks. So Rally the Ranks is, you choose a creature type, all your creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1. So you could play this with things like humans, or goblins, or soldier, or warrior, whatever you want to do. But today we're actually going to be doing it on birds. So this is a bird tribal deck. Everything in the deck is a bird pretty much. There are a couple of exceptions, but not many. So we're playing just a full play set of every 1-mana bird that we can play. Out of them, the Healer's Hawk is by far the best one, but they all do the same job pretty much. The payoffs for playing tribal birds are we get access to Rally the Ranks. We also get access to the Eagle and favourable winds. All of them are going to give our flying creatures +1/+1 or our birds +1/+1, which in most cases is the same thing. We do have another payoff, which is Safara. Safara is just have 4 flyers in play, pay 1 white and tap all 4 of them, and you get to play a 7/7 that makes all of your other flying creatures indestructible. Other than that, we do play 1 Sky Cat Sovereign. It is technically not a bird, but it does make birds, and it's just a fine one-off. I'm not really sure what that spot should be, but that's what it is at the minute. We're also going to be playing a couple of winged words just to help us draw a couple more cards, and we're also playing 2 Rally of Wings. This card can really lead to some very quick kills, but you can ultimately turn 3 play Safara, and you can even get some turn 4 kills as well if you draw the right amount of anthems and birds. But anyway, fuck that, let's get into some games. Okay, so with this opening hand, the island is not great just because we can only basically play 1 of these creatures each turn. But we do have like the perfect set of cards, just except the lands don't really support it. I think it probably is worth keeping this, and just hope that we draw a plane soon, or maybe some blue creatures, because we can always turn to Rally the Ranks if we really need to. Yeah, I think it depends on what we're going to draw really. But if we're against a red deck, Healer's Hawk is surprisingly good, and we draw another 1-mana white creature. Okay, so I think. I guess we could play the Rustwing Falcon because it blocks the Scorched Spitter, and then we can get in for 1 in the air. Alternatively, we can play a Rally and get in for 2. Or the Raptor does also do the same thing as the Riftwing. Yeah, I think we're going to get in for 1, and then play the Raptor. The Rally the Ranks is really good at getting around Chainwhirler from their deck. Because Chainwhirler obviously dealing 1 damage to all your creatures. When all your creatures are 1-mana flying birds, it can kill a lot of them. Fortunately, a lot of them are actually 1/2s, but also the Rally helps them get out of it, as does Favourable Winds. Okay, so they're playing the new Goblin Guide-esque card, so it's a 1 red 2/2 trample haste. I never noticed that it had trample actually, but whenever it does combat damage to us, they do have to bounce a land. And again, we do draw another white creature, unfortunately. A blue 1-drop would have been really nice. At this point, I think we probably are better off just playing another creature. And again, I guess we'll play the first striker. I do think that the Healer's Hawk is by far the best creature in the deck that's like a 1-mana bird. The lifelink does come up a surprising amount, especially if you start getting anthems on the board. Gaining 3 a turn against like an aggressive deck can be really, really good. I'm going to play a Lava Runner. They've only got 1 spell in the graveyard so far. So they are choosing to attack with both. Obviously we will block this. I'm not sure why they've opted to attack with it. Okay, that's why, sure. It doesn't get trampled fortunately, so that's fine. And they have bounced another mountain again. Okay, that's perfect. Draw another untapped white source is great. So we can play the Rustwing Falcon. And the question is, do we want to play another one, or do we want to play a Rally? I think we're better off playing a Rally, because then this can block whatever it wants. And then we can either keep the Healer's Hawk back to block a Scorched Spitter, or we can just swing with it and get the 2. So let's go ahead, play this. Obviously name Bird. And do we want to attack? If we do attack, we are gaining 2 as well. And I'm not sure how much we want to risk our Hawk dying to things like Infuriate, because there are quite a few 1-mana red spells that pump. I think we're fine just getting in for 2 with it. I don't really want to trade it off, if possible, just because the 2 every turn is so good against this deck, especially considering they're such a low to the ground deck. They can run out of gas pretty easily. Oh, interesting. Then using collateral damage to kill the 2/3. They'd just rather get the damage in. This deck is really low to the ground. I actually really like the look of their deck. Things like collateral damage I just really like. Another white source, not really what we're looking for now, but we'll play the Rustwing, and we're going to play another Rally. Of course, naming Bird again. And again, I think I'm happy just to cash in on the 3 lifelink. We do need to kill our opponent eventually, and the gaining the 3 every turn is handy. And now that Rustwing is a X4, that is dramatically harder for them to kill. Okay, yeah, so a 2 for 1 is fine. And they've got another Scorch Spitter. Okay, so now at this point I think we might need to start blocking with our Healer's Hawk. Or do we? So if we attack for 3, it puts us up to 15, and then down to 10, and then they're going to attack us, and then we can just start eating their creatures. I just don't know how much of a stalemate we want to be at. Like, if we just play our cards and pass, and then they don't attack and no one's attacking, I think at that point they're actually gaining an advantage because they can draw removal spells. I think we do want to attack with the Healer's Hawk. The gaining the 3 is really good, whereas if neither of us attack, then we're not gaining that 3 every turn, and we can afford to use this to trade off. And again, being an X4, they're going to have to use 2 cards generally to kill it anyway. Oh, and they drew the Wizard's Lightning. Okay, sure, so we'll trade off. So they're all attacking with effectively 2 power, except another, where is it? Infuriate is +3/+2. So if they use it on this, we wouldn't kill it, whereas if they use it on one of these, we would. So if they have another Infuriate, it's significantly better to use it on these. So that's what we're going to do, because they're all attacking for 2. These might only have 1 power, but because of their effects, they're basically doing 2 every turn anyway. And they're going to skewer the critics. Sure. That's not what we wanted to see. We will play the planes, and we will just sit back and hopefully draw something good soon. And they've just drawn a mountain, which is lucky for us. They're still going to be attacking, very aggressive. This time we will eat the Lava Runner because we know it's safe to do so. They really should have kept that and attacked first, and that is pretty much the best draw we could have had. A Healer's Hawk is perfect. And do we want to attack? I think so. They're at such a low life now. They basically have to draw removal for this, for it to be a bad option. And there we go. Sweet. So we did manage to just about win that one. Our opponent did get us very low. On to the next one. This opening hand looks great. We ideally would draw another land or something, but we've got a 1-drop into a Rally, and then we've got a Eagle. Ideally, the Rally of Wings would be another 1-mana bird, but we will keep this. I don't think we can really get rid of this. The Saphira probably isn't going to help this game, just being that we only have 2 flying creatures in our hand, and the likelihood of us drawing 2 more and none of them getting removed by the time is pretty unlikely, but we could hope for the best. So turn 1, obviously we're going to have to shock with the Hallowed Fountain to play our Rustwing and pass the turn back. No companion from our opponent, and oh, it looks like they're playing like the Sultai Good Stuff deck. So let's go ahead, play the island. Because we have 2 blue sources and only 1 white source, it's better to play the Rally here over the favourable winds. I know it sounds really small, but it has come up in previous games where, you know, which one you play first. And again, obviously choosing bird. Get our opponent for 2. And if we draw a land, then great, we can play our 3-drop. And if we draw anything else, we can at least follow up with the favourable winds. Opponent using Growth Spiral here. That's fine. I think we're still better off playing the Favourable Winds over the 1-drop, but I'm not sure. So if we play the 1-drop here, and then next turn if we draw a land, the Eagle. So yeah, actually maybe we are better off playing the 1-drop here. We're effectively adding 2 power to the board versus 1. But being this 2 mana, it does make it more tempting to cast it, but I think we're better off just getting creatures on the board. And our opponent is leading off with a Binding the Old God. So it's destroy target non-land permanent, and then search your library for a forest and put it into the battlefield tapped, and then creatures you control gain Death Touch until end of turn. And they've blown up our Anthem, which is fine. Let's go ahead, play our Plains and our Eagle. So let's swing with those, and we are now just a 1-drop off the top of the deck, off potentially getting this Sapphire into play, which would be very, very good for us. This does seem like an obvious inclusion for these Sultai mid-range decks, especially ones that have like Nissa in that. Oh wow, we did draw the girl here. So let's just go ahead and try and get this Sapphire into play. Sweet. And do we want another Eagle? We absolutely do. The scrying on the Artificer's Assistant is very, very small, but it does occasionally come up. I think the only thing in the deck is Sapphire, and they've created 2 birds, and does that take an extra turn, I think? Yeah, create 2 bird tokens with flying, take an extra turn after this one, and then exile it. It does have Foretell as well. Okay, fortunately our opponent didn't really follow up with anything. I don't think. What if they tapped a land? They've played 2 lands. Oh, sorry, they've tapped 3 lands. Oh, okay, they Growth Spiraled into a tapped Breeding Pool by the look of it. Yeah, we'll just play the Eagle here and swing. Actually, we might have just had lethal potentially if we didn't play the Eagle, because they could block the Sapphire and this, and then they would have taken 10. Okay, no, we didn't miss lethal. Oh, sorry, no, only 8, 12. Oh, it would have been 12 actually. We're going to play Uro here, which is fine. Uro doesn't really do much to us, being that it doesn't have reach, and it's just going to die anyway. And they concede. Sweet. I guess on to the next one. Looking at this hand, this is a pretty obvious mulligan. 3 Sapphire is just not going to do anything in this deck. The reason that we only play 3 is because it's so bad in multiples, but it's such a big payoff if you can get into play. So I think 3 is about the right number, maybe 2. I did play with 4, but I found that the second one is just so critical that it's not worth playing. So we're just going to mulligan this, and this hand looks great. We'll keep this. So we've got turn 1 Rustwing into 2 more 1-drops. As long as we just draw another 1-drop, we could potentially just get a turn 3 Sapphire. So we will keep, and we will get rid of the island here, I think. Yeah. So we could lead off with the Plains into a Rustwing or a Hallowed Fountain. I don't think it makes too much of a difference here. But we'll start off with the Plains. And our opponent is playing Cascading Cataracts. Sure. Does it matter which bird we play? I guess we'll play the first striker. From what I can see, the Battlefield Raptor is just a strictly better version of the Falcon. Especially with the explosion in the background. That's pretty sweet. Let's just go ahead and shock. And doesn't really matter what ones we play at this point, I don't think. And we are now potentially threatening a turn 3 Sapphire. If we're playing against this like mono green Ugin style deck, we do need to be very wary of Ugin, except I think Sapphire can't be killed by Ugin. I don't know how much Ugin enters the battlefield with, how many loyalty counters, because it has the -X, exile all non-colorless or all colored permanents with converted mana cost X or less. So depending on what Ugin comes into play with, I don't know what he does. Let's have a quick Google. Ugin has 7 loyalty when it comes in. So it's exile each permanent with converted mana cost X or less. That's 1 or more colors. Being that it's 7, that does hit Sapphire as well, unfortunately. That's not great for us. But we're going to go ahead, play the island, play the Falcon here, and lead up with Sapphire, unless they have some sort of removal spell. And, wow, okay, they can now Blast Zone, so we might as well just cash in on cheating this into play now. So the Blast Zone is 3 mana, sack it, destroy each permanent, with convert mana costs equal to how many counters. So it's got 1 on, so that will just kill all of these. So they're going to have to respond to Sapphire with that. So we're not going to have any 1-drops left, but we are going to have a 7/7 flying lifelink in play on turn 3, is it? Yeah. So we do lose our board other than the Sapphire. But then next time we can follow up with a Winged Words. And you never know, maybe a 7/7 flying lifelinker is going to be good enough. Because they have set themselves back a land now as well. Well, let's go ahead and draw 2 cards, see what we can get. The second Sapphire, probably not going to help, but we'll play the Gull here and Kraken for 7. Unfortunately, the Gull doesn't speed up our clock at all. Yeah, the more I play with Sapphire, the more I feel like it might be a 2-of instead of a 3-of. But here it's worked out so well, so even if we have drawn 2. See what our opponent's going to follow up with. They've now got access to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. Wow, Extinction is really good against us. So that's choose odd or even, exile all creatures with converted mana cost, which are odd or even. And unfortunately, Sapphire is an odd. Then at least we would have been able to keep a bird, but unfortunately not. And here's the Ugin, and I think we're going to call it quits here. There's just not really anything we can do. If we get a bunch of Anthems into play to dodge the tick up on Ugin, all he has to do is -2, and then the whole board is reset again. I just don't think we're ever getting through that. So on to the next one. Okay, so this opening hand looks absolutely great. We've got a bunch of 1-drops and a couple of Anthems. Can't really ask for much more in this deck. We will keep. The double Healer's Hawk really makes me hope that we're against some sort of like mono-red aggro deck. Because if you can get these Healer's Hawks in and they stick, it's going to be really, really hard for the mono-red players to kill you. Especially when you start making them 2/2s and 3/3s. Opponent leads off with a... Oh, okay, sweet. Here we will just play Plains into Healer's Hawk. And pass the turn back. Opponent plays a Soulscar Mage. We are just going to, I think here, play a Plains and just play 2 more creatures. We could be a little bit wary of Goblin Chainwhirler here, because Chainwhirler is just going to deal 1 damage to all our creatures. I think we are better off just doing the Plains and playing 2 creatures though, because maybe we don't. So if they do have a turn 3 Chainwhirler and we play 2 creatures, it's going to be really hard to pull it back. Alternatively, if we play the Favourable Winds, I guess that's good at playing around it. But then potentially they wouldn't play it. No, I think they still would. We're going to pay the 2 life, and we're just going to play Favourable Winds here. Our opponent is going to deal 1 damage to our Healer's Hawk, which is fine. We've got the Favourable Winds in play, and then next turn we could, say, play another Favourable Winds and a Healer's Hawk, or we can just play 3 creatures. Probably will just play 3 creatures here, but see what else our opponent's up to. Thermo Alchemist, sure. So they haven't even played the... okay, there's the 3rd land drop. What are they playing green for? That's very odd. So normally there will be like Burning Tree Emissary in the deck, but you don't need a green source for that. So I'm very curious as to what the green source could be here. Can't really think of anything that goes in these green... unless it is just a red-green deck and they just happen to have drawn all the red cards. But alternatively, you don't play Thermo Alchemist in a Gruul beatdown deck. So I'm very, very curious as to what that is for. So let's just go ahead, play 3 creatures here. It's not like we have to worry about some sort of like anger of the gods. If they're playing Soulscar Mage and Thermo Alchemist, I feel pretty safe just developing the board and not worrying about a board wipe. But I really want to know what this green is for. It's not like Become Immense is in the format, whereas, you know, something like Become Immense is definitely worth splashing for if you can. In a deck with things like fetch lands. They're going to Pillar of Flame to the face. When there's a Healer's Hawk in play, that seems... they must have a Spectacle card here. Well, I guess they could have just triggered that with Thermo Alchemist anyway. Why are they just going... ah, okay, sure. So this costs less depending on how much damage you've taken. So they've just cheated into play. So now whenever a source you control deals damage, non-combat damage to an opponent, it also deals that much damage to a creature. So for example, if they shock us, they can then shock one of our creatures. We're just going to play the Eagle here. Hopefully if we draw a land next turn, we can just play double favourable wins. It'd have to be a blue source. But at this point, we are definitely just going to swing in and try and race our opponent here. We do threaten lethal next turn, regardless of if the Eagle survives if we draw a blue source. But with the amount of burn in their deck, oh, that's actually quite a nice combo. So the Thermo Alchemist taps to deal 1 damage to each opponent. That's not combat damage. So that effectively just does 1 damage every turn to us and then to a creature. So then they only need 1 spell and they can start doing 2 damage to our creatures. Fortunately, having 2 anthems out means that none of them are going to die to that. But like all they need is like a 3rd spell and they can start mowing down like 2 or 3 creatures a turn. So they obviously swing in for 6 here. That's a bit of a no-brainer. I think they could probably get away with attacking with the Soulscar Mage as well. I probably wouldn't block that. I wouldn't want to risk a Anthem here. Yeah, so they're going to get in for 6. I can't really see any big punishment for not blocking. It's not like they could use Embercleave or anything like that. They just don't have the mana for it. They've effectively got 4 mana for Embercleave out of 6. And our opponent is in the tank. So we do just straight up have lethal, and yeah, they just don't have an answer for it. Alright, looking at this hand, this looks pretty good. We are looking pretty good for 1-drops. Got a couple of anthems. The Saphara will need a bit of luck if we're going to be able to get that out with the 4 flying creatures. But we'll see how we get along. The more I play the deck, the more I feel like Curious Obsession might fit in it. If I do find that I want to do that, I might make another video with Curious Obsession in the deck. So if you guys do like this deck, feel free to like leave a comment or something, or at least like the video, because then that way I'll know that you guys want to see more. Or if you want to see more like traditional content on this account, so things like mono red aggro, Gruul aggro, then also let me know. I do generally play the red-green style decks, but I'm also more than happy to play other random aggro decks if they seem pretty fun to play. But yeah, so we're going to lead off with a Raptor here. Our opponent is opening with a Temple of Epiphany. That could mean a variety of things, I think. Let's go ahead, play the Glacial Fortress here and play the Gull. We could play the Rally, but I think we're better off just playing more creatures to the board first, and then we can play that later. Whilst this is more mana efficient, we know what we're doing next turn anyway, and then after that I'm sure we'll there's not really much we can draw where we get punished, other than like another 2 mana spell, I guess. Sweet, so let's just go ahead, play the eagle here and get in for 4. There are so many like card sleeves on this like version of Magic instead of like Modo. I find it's like consistently surprising of how much like additional artwork there is. I really like the fact they've added that kind of stuff. Opponent is played Stonecoil Serpent for X0. I think that. Oh, okay. So they're a Tybalt's Trickery kind of deck. So if you are unfamiliar with Tybalt's Trickery, it is counter a spell, choose 1, 2, or 3 at random. You mill that many cards or whoever's spell you counter, and then you basically cascade into another spell. And our opponent is Jesus Christ. Choose a card to be shuffled into your opponent's library. Let's give them Golter, I guess. And then what happens with the other 2? Do they go into play? Shit, I probably should have read that card. Search a library for up to 3 monocolored cards with different names and exile them. An opponent chooses one of those, shuffles that card into your library. You may cast the other cards without paying the mana costs. Exile this card. Okay, shit, that's not good. So they do now just have... I don't know if... Okay, no, so Omniscience is only cards from your hand you can play for free. Okay, so we're going to have to kill our opponent pretty quick here. I think we're just going to play Rally this turn, and then next turn just kill them with the Rally of the Wings, unless they have something else. But I don't think we have much time to waste. So we're going to go ahead and choose Bird, of course. Swing in for 9. This will put them to 6, so their Citadel won't be too much to worry about. They've only got 5 permanents in play for the second effect. And we surprisingly won. I thought they were just going to kill us on the spot or of some sort. Okay, sweet. It's nice to see like a new deck out. I've played against this deck a couple of times with other variants, but not once have I seen anyone actually do some sort of combo with it. They were somewhat successful, but then they just didn't really do anything else. But yeah, sweet, another win. So I think that wraps up today's video. That was, I think, 5 games we've got. That is not like specifically any chosen games really. I've played 7 games. 2 I have edited out. 1 was because the opponent just stopped playing, so every turn was like however long the timer is. That game we did win, but it just took forever. And the other game was lost against some sort of like Thoughtseize deck, and we basically just didn't do anything, so I thought it's not really fun to watch. So the 2 games that I've edited out are those 2. Every other game I've played is specifically just literally been one after another, so it's not like I've handpicked the decks that I've played against or anything like that. So it's not like this deck has been misrepresented, I guess. So it is playable. I'm not going to go ahead and say it's good, because it's probably not in the grand scheme of things. But it is really fun to play. If there are any changes I would make, I would possibly try to add Curious Obsession. So Curious Obsession, which is just the 1 blue enchantment, giant creature gets +1/+1, and if it hits your opponent, you draw a card. That could potentially be instead of something like Winged Words, just because it's a lot lower on the curve, and it helps you fill out those turn 2s where you either have to play a 2-mana spell or a 1-drop, and sometimes it's just hard to tell which one you want to do. So that would help just curve out the mana base a little bit, or not the mana base, like the curve. And other than that, I think the deck is pretty much where I would expect it to be. There is also a blue-white land to play from the new set, or one of the newer sets, which I don't have yet, and I didn't really want to spend my last 4 rare wild cards on this deck. But other than that, I think the deck is a great bit of fun. If you want to play it, go ahead. It's not particularly expensive. You need like shock lands and I don't even know what the set is called, like Buddy Lands or something. And then everything else is a common or an uncommon except Rally the Ranks and where is it? Safara. Pretty much everything else you'll probably have. I guess the Sky Cat Sovereign, but you don't need to play that. That's probably not. It's probably actually one of the weaker cards in the deck, other than the fact that it's a mana sink. But you could easily cut a lot of these cards anyway, like the Winged Words and things like that. Everyone has like uncommons and commons on Arena. It's mainly just the rares. But yeah, so thanks for watching. If you want to see more content, feel free to subscribe. If you want to see this deck again with things like Curious curious obsession, or anything else, feel free to leave those in the comments. Thanks for watching, and peace.